Welcome back to the 1010s podcast with Michael and Adam and Robbie. And again on the phone this week we have Mr. Heyward Wagner, marketing extraordinaire, marketing genie. What have they changed your title to now?
It's actually marketing genie now.
Is it marketing genie? Okay, yeah. Corporations, I feel like, have tried to take an approach to soften a little bit, so that they're more relatable.
Yeah, my office is a big bottle, and whenever they need something, they just come rub the bottle, and I have to jump out of it, which is kind of lame, but it makes the boss happy.
It's right. It's part of your package now, right? It's an agreement thing. Right. Yeah, no, totally understandable. Genies are typically approachable by most people, so I could see where they're coming from.
Up to 3 times.
Right. I guess that works out for you, because then at that point you can say, "Get out of my office."
Totally
my bottle.
Yeah.
Sorry, get out of my bottle.
Great to be on with you guys.
Yeah, great. It's the same as it was 3 or 4 months ago when you were here, so we apologize for that. And for those that remember the last show, they can look forward to another lightning round of questions from Adam. So that's something to stick around for.
I'm mildly more prepared this time.
People like lead-ins, except his phone died, so he's got no notes. So
we'll figure it out.
We'll see what happens. But anyway, Heyward, you reached out to us. Sounds like you guys have got some exciting stuff going on at the SCCA. So like we said before we started, we're just kind of open to having a conversation with you and hearing about what's going on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always great to catch up with you guys and share what's going on in our world. It's July, so we're ramping up to championship season. We got solo nationals coming up the first week in September. I think you guys have heard of autocross. It's a thing we do.
I don't recall that. No.
Okay, cool.
Stricken that word. No, I'm kidding.
It's but just a little gathering of 1,400 autocrossers in Lincoln, Nebraska for. If you count the pro solo finale and the whole shooting match, we will arrive with competitors on Thursday, the weekend before, have the pro solo finale on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday is kind of our course walking town hall meeting day. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, we'll have 1,400 people pre-registered to take part in that event. So looking to break our record of 13-17 from year before last year. And so that's pretty rad. We got Time Trials Nationals coming up at the end of September, and then in October 15 through 22, we'll be out at Sonoma Raceway for the Runoffs, and we've got a Rallycross Nationals coming up and mixed into that, and we're even going to do a little United States Road Rally Championship package. So we've got 5 year-end national events coming up over the course of about 7 weeks, so a little bit of busy coming.
Solo Nationals sold out, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually sold out. It was really cool to watch. We typically get a really big registration bump the week before registration closes. People tend to wait until that last week, and that's usually where we see the numbers really jump. But for some reason this year, day one, we sold about half the available entry, and everybody went on social media and screamed that, go get registered now. It's going to sell out fast. It's going to fill up. And about 2.5, 3 days later, we sold the 1,350th spot. And the good news is selling out 1,350 in 4 days gave us plenty of time to kind of retool and figure out how we can get a few more people in. So we bumped it up to 1,400, and we're working through the wait list. And it's pretty exciting to see that event between the move from Heartland Park in Topeka, which was a facility that was really great for about a 900 driver event, moving to Lincoln, where we've got a lot more space to work with. I think the transition to more classes being on 200 treadwear tires, and then just kind of working with our partners and working with the Lincoln Visitors Bureau and Grassroots Motorsports and BFG to bring more social stuff to the event, more fun, more parties. A bunch of the regions actually rent 20 by 20 or 20 by 40 kind of festival style tents to have there for their home base and their kind of party place. And it's really blown up.
What do you think's changed around it that's caused people to want to register for it so fast?
I think that the biggest thing with the registration was just kind of this, we got off to a good start, and then everybody just kind of hit the little panic button of, if you don't sign up now, you might not get in.
Sure.
But I also think that, if you look at our entry numbers for the event, Cam, Solo Spec Coupe, and make up about half. The entry numbers for that makes up about half the total growth that we've seen over the last 3 years. And then the transition from the true racing DOT tires to 200 treadwear tires in street class kind of makes up the other chunk of that. So I think kind of those three things happening at once, street tires in street class, Cam, and the Solo Spec Coupe, those things kind of created this rush on the market a little bit. And it's been really strong for the program, and we've been able to get a lot of partner attention with it as well. We've got a pretty full schedule this year of folks that are affiliated with the program currently, and then folks that are interested in getting involved coming out to Lincoln to take a look at it. So that makes for a busy week for the marketing department, but it's a great opportunity to kind of showcase what we do here.
So Solo Spec Coupe's been doing well. It has decent numbers.
Yeah, Tire Rack reported to us maybe about a month ago that they'd sold the 100th kit. We were hoping to sell 100 kits over the course of 2018, so selling 100 before we got to the halfway point of the year was super cool. Falcon's been a great partner for us. They're just produced some video content about the class, and they're doing a great job keeping up with tire demand. And then we're seeing some just really great competition in that class. We've seen in our Pro Solo series that you usually have 180, 200 drivers enter an event, and the top 32 make it into the challenge. We've had several events this year where multiple drivers from Solo Spec Coupe have made it into the challenge, which kind of speaks to not only the parity of the cars, but the parity of the drivers. We're seeing really great competition, and it's really fun to watch this kind of social media reaction to the class as guys who've been driving the cars now for a couple of months are starting to figure out the setup. And at the beginning, there was a lot of kind of griping about that the tire wasn't as sticky as maybe a BFG Rival S or one of the Bridgestone products. But now that people are kind of learning the setup and learning the driving style and playing with things a bit, you're seeing more and more people kind of having those light bulb moments. So I think it's got really great momentum, and there's actually a surprising number of conversations going on right now behind the scenes about what could be the next spec platform, whether that be kind of going the roadster route with a two-seater, or there's been some interesting ideas around the idea of something that was more of a pony car or some four-door boost options. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of get some ideas of where I might be going with those. But some pretty cool ideas.
I'm surprised it's done that well. I think it's cool that spec idea works in solo so well. I think personally that sounds like the most boring thing I could possibly do with my car, but that's just the way I am about stuff, I guess. It's cool that people have responded to it so well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes Solo National such a fun event, is that you've got, you're going to have 60, 70 people there that are competing on a spec platform, on a spec tire, spec spring, the whole bit. And then you've got an equal number of people at the other end of the spectrum that are running, in X prepared or E modified or D modified, where it's as creative as you want to get. And I think that's one of the real strengths of the programs. A lot of people like to knock autocross for how many classes we have and how many trophies we give out, and the just the overall socialism of motorsports through autocrossing. But I think it's it really is a sport that's intended to give everybody some opportunity. And for me, I got a couple of kids. I don't have a whole lot of time. The idea of placing one order at the tire rack and having it all show up at my house and put it on in the afternoon, and I'm done with car prep and competitive. That's a pretty sweet setup. But I will admit, and I would be very much aligned with your vision there in different phases of life.
Yeah, I think that we have at least one person locally that has put the Solo Spec kit on his FRS. And then we also, maybe 30 minutes away from us, have Ron Vermeulen. So that's the kind of scale we have
exactly
in our local area. So,
So it looks, I was looking at Tire Rack at that kit because I didn't realize that's where you go to buy that. Due to the unique way that Tire Rack is structured, I would have to input some information to get to the price, and I'd have to put a car in that was applicable. And I'm not going to do that while I'm talking to Heyward because I can't do both at the same time.
Right.
I should know the answer to that question. I think it's about a $2,000 kit.
Okay. And I mean that's reasonable for a full suspension and tire package.
But yeah, so it looks
absolutely
looks like full lowering suspension, so springs, and looks like there's some sort of adjustment that needs to be done on the rears if I'm looking at this package right. And then the sway bars, obviously. So yeah, it is cool that you can just jump on here and buy that and run with it.
Yeah, and it actually, the success of that formula was a lot of what we were looking at when we started building time trials sport class rules, is that that rule set in time trials is basically the solo spec coupe kit, but applicable to whatever car you happen to have. So steel body shock from Tire Rack, lowering spring from, available at Tire Rack. You can get it from wherever you want to get it, but we'd sure appreciate it if you got it from Tire Rack.
Right.
And whatever spring kit you want, whatever sway bar kit you want, and go play. And again, it's the same kind of thing where you make one order, it shows up at your house, you and your buddy with tools that you probably already have can put it together, and you've just taken your Mustang from kind of a wallowy car on track to a pretty precise car. And we saw that happening in SSC, and we saw people kind of flocking to it, and like, let's not screw that up. Let's try to keep entry level as off the shelf as possible. And then kind of in the same vein of that alter way to Ron Vermeulen position, our unlimited class, the rules are basically make your minimum weight, kind of sort of look like a production car ish, and have some pretty smart safety stuff in place and go play. So we kind of wanted to capture that same feel as much as we could.
I could see the appeal of this. I mean, there are a lot of people that want to get into racing. I think there's a lot of people that want to get into a level of racing where the competitive playing field mechanically is level.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's driver versus driver at that
right,
point.
and so you're actually racing against another human being.
Rather than a human being's car.
Yeah, and if I can go out and buy a 2013 FRS and make my modifications to it and I'm done, and I've got a spec car that I can still drive on the road, I can drive it to work, I totally get that. It's a lot more appealing to people, I think, than like what James does, which I think is a big thing to try to bite off, buying a Spec Racer Ford or a Mazda or whatever, because that's a whole other level of, needing a truck and a trailer and working on the car and et cetera, et cetera. This is a lot lower barrier to entry.
Yeah, and the whole reason they went with the 86 platform for this, and incidentally, it is only the first. Are we on a second generation? Are they calling it 1.5? What is the new?
This one I'm looking at just says 13 to 16.
Yeah, 13 to 16 is the limitation, because the Toyota 86 is a little bit better horsepower.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know what they're calling that. Probably 1.5.
The reason they picked that was they wanted a car that you could realistically fit a set of wheels and tires in. You could drive it every day. You didn't have to deal with the convertible top. It was a true hard top. And that it was on the market at a reasonable price point. I think most people that are building these cars are buying them, building them, prepping them the whole bit at a 14, 15, 16K total investment. And that's a pretty good chunk if it's just going to sit in your garage, Monday through Friday. But the fact that this is a super drivable car, and the Tire Rack really spec'd this kit out to be something that was very daily driver friendly. So it does lower it a little bit, it does stiffen it a little bit, but a lot of people, even out in Southern California, where you're dealing with traffic and a lot of road damage and that type of thing, have reported that they actually like the ride of the kit better than the factory ride. So it's going well.
That I could get my head around, like if that's my daily and I have my race car, which coincidentally is always broken down, at least I have a backup plan.
Exactly.
So you're going to enter a spec class because race car's broken?
My race car just sits in my garage, and I can't. It's just broke. It is what it is. People know, but at least then I could participate in our local autocross
Yes, you
and
could.
stuff like that instead of just like
Not doing anything.
not doing anything like I've done for the last 2 years.
It says something about where you are in life when you start thinking about a backup race car. Like that's commitment.
The problem is that my current race car is almost the package or the price of the package itself for the spec solo coupe is what I paid for the race car in general. And I mean, maybe that's part of my reliability issues, but still.
I'm going to float that theory that could contribute to the overall challenge.
Yeah, it's been a challenge to say the least.
So you mentioned quite a few other events. What's some stuff that's coming up that you're really excited about?
So I think the two things that are on the radar right now that I'm super excited about are Time Trials Nationals. We did the pilot events at Carolina Motorsports Park, Gingerman, and NCM Motorsports Park, and got really amazing feedback and reviews. We asked a survey question at Carolina Motorsports Park of would you do an event of this format again, and got a 100% yes answer from that population. So that was really kind of affirming that we were on a good track. And I've actually got to run that event myself as a participant, and the one at NCM as well. And I'm excited about the format. I'm excited about the concept. And I'm excited to see how it plays out in a 200 plus car event, which is what we're targeting for NCM. I think the thing that has really kind of captured my imagination about it as a participant is I really enjoy the track cross element, the standing start piece, because as an autocrosser, I found that like in the practice sessions, I thought I was driving pretty hard. And then we got to the track cross piece where we've got a standing start and you're kind of launching like you do at an autocross, and you have that, rev it to 7 grand, sidestep the clutch, let the back end slide, launch, and that like does some like visceral thing to my brain and like goes, oh, this is for real now. now this, okay. And like I've just really enjoyed like that pushing myself and getting quicker each session and being able to do it on some really fun tracks. And so that's from a work standpoint, that's a major focus of what we're working on right now. But as a participant, I'm really looking forward to how that event comes together.
And then what was the other one you're interested in, or not interested, excited about? Well,
I mean, the runoffs, to me, I grew up as going to the runoffs, and my parents were on the Chiefs team for it every year, and it was really super cool to be a kid growing up out in that environment and getting to go to the runoffs at all these different tracks year after year has been a really awesome experience. And the 3 days of racing are pretty much the three coolest days of my job, because I get to be the on pit lane reporter for the webcast. So I get to interview all the national champions right after they won. I should say the provisional national champions before they go to impound. But I get to do all that and then kind of be like directly in it. And I think Sonoma is going to be a really great venue for that event. And so I'm pretty fired up to get to Sonoma. And when you go to the West Coast, you're dealing with predominantly people who are runoffs rookies. Like some of them will have did Laguna runoffs a couple of years ago. But on the East Coast, you've got guys that have 7, 8, 9 championships. You have people that have been doing it for 30 years. And you kind of lose the urgency. Everybody's going to be back again next year. So if you don't win it, it's no big deal. But on the West Coast, there's kind of this like, this might be my only runoffs. And so the West Coast runoffs tend to have a little bit more urgency, a little bit more kind of wide-eyed excitement to them. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And obviously, if you cannot make it to that one, we'll be streaming all of those races live at SDCA.com. So it's a pretty good way to spend a weekend watching 24 national championship races over 3 days at arguably one of the most challenging racetracks in North America.
We have a show friend that will be competing there this year. So
who's that?
James Chartres. He's a local spec racer Ford guy.
Very cool.
pretty involved in the San Francisco region, it seems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
the blue
I
and white
think
car.
Yeah,
Yes,
we got
exactly.
connected to you through him originally.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
that you
think
guys
so.
knew each other that well, but he pushed you our direction. So
We're,
if you want someone to blame, it's him.
We follow each other on the gram. It's super.
There-
lit.
Yeah.
we
So
get it.
you guys are hooked up now. I see how it is.
No,
So
that track is, virtually at least one of my favorites to drive on. So I think it'll be cool to have a Runoffs there.
yeah, I got to go out a couple years ago, and I did some pit lane reporting for Pearly World Challenge when they were out there, and they had a media opportunity to ride along with some of the drivers and some of the cars set up with passenger seats, and there was an empty slot, and so I got to jump in. And I have ridden in a lot of cars and a lot of tracks and done a lot of that type of thing, and I had no idea how terrifying some elements of that track were. I have, and the guy driving was great. I don't remember who it was, but there was nothing that he was doing that contributed to my terror. But there's just a couple of places there where the visual is weird and the ground is going away from you and it's off camber, and then all of a sudden you're into this carousel corner, and I mean it is a big boy racetrack. There's no way around that.
Do you know what course configuration you're running?
We are running the longer course configuration. It's not the NASCAR cut through. It's the I don't know what the name of it is,
The better
but the
one.
one that
Let's be real here.
the right one.
Yes, exactly.
The one you want.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
And then the other thing that's on the Runoffs radar, I don't know if you guys keep up with all of our news and notes, but after Sonoma this year, we're coming all the way back east to VIR, and the survey, we run a survey before every Runoffs to kind of get a gauge of how many people are interested, and the surveying for Indy showed that we were going to have about 950 people show up to Indy, and we had 969. The surveying right now for VIR shows that it might be a bigger Runoffs than Indy was. So we're super excited about Sonoma, but we're already working on VIR because that may very well be the biggest Runoffs we've ever had.
Where do you put 1,000 teams? I mean, I assume some of those cars, they can't be co-driven, can they?
No.
It'd be kind of hard to do in a club racing.
Yeah, it kind of goes the other way. Some drivers will bring two cars, but there's a lot of grass at VIR. There's a lot of our Runoffs competitors have gotten used to bringing 4 or 5 sheets of plywood with them to put down in their paddock spot for putting the cars on and jack stands and stuff. The real challenge at VIR though is where's everyone going to sleep. The closest hotels to VIR are Greensboro, which is about an hour away. So it's
is it really that far out in the middle of nowhere?
It's weird. It's residentially not that far out in it, but Danville, Virginia just doesn't have a whole lot of lodging. And if I had to bet, I bet the week of the Runoffs is already booked at most hotels in Danville.
That's surprising because, that's not a small track. It brings some pretty big events. You'd think there'd be lodging.
It would be logical. So, but that's kind of what we've got sized up over the course between September 1st and October 31st. We'll have close to 3,000 people taking part in competing in SCCA National Championship events or Nationals events. And then you factor in the workers and crew and staff and everybody else involved, that it doubles that number pretty quickly. So a club of about 48,000 people, 6,000 to 10,000 of them are going to be involved in Nationals events over that 2-month period. So it's a super busy time for us. Crazy fun though.
That's cool. Those are impressive numbers, So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, compared to, obviously Grid Life's one of our bigger influences, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
when you talk
exactly.
about as many cars as they have there at Gingerman, compared to 1,000 or
Could you
1,400, no, I couldn't actually imagine.
yeah. So I've been to. Granted, it's only the Monday, like kind of the course walking, like you had mentioned, but I've been to Solo Nationals, I think 3 or maybe 4 years in a row now, and yeah, without going there, you can't understand the scale of it, and that's just the Monday before anything even starts. So
Yeah, Monday at Nationals is the best day to be there because no one has screwed up yet.
Well,
So everybody's still in a good mood. Everyone still has a chance to win a national championship. There's no optimism like Monday at Nationals optimism. But yeah, the Runoffs has that same kind of feel of like the paddock just keeps going and going and going, and it's super cool. Are you guys going to be at Grid Life South at Road Atlanta in August?
I don't think. Well, we're not sure yet. I
No,
don't think that's probably going to happen.
No, I already made plans that weekend. I can't make it. I know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a pretty serious commitment for us to get from where we are to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult. So
yeah, I'll be at that one. We've been working with them with that event last year and again this year to do a autocross in the old paddock at Road Atlanta. And we're doing it this year with a shootout where each of the class winners at the end of the day get to come back and duke it out for an overall number one prize. So kind of putting a show together with that one. But those guys have been super awesome to work with, and we're looking forward to doing more stuff with them in the future.
If I remember right, that event did pretty well last year. Had quite a few numbers in that participated in that autocross.
Yeah, I was down there for part of it last year, and there were times where the line to get to the autocross was 30, 40 cars deep. So it was pretty cool. Looking forward to doing that again.
Absolutely.
Got anything else, Adam?
We kind of have to ask about Rallycross because I think is that in Indianola again this year? Do you know offhand?
Man, I should know the answer to that. I can look it up.
It's sad that we don't either because I think it's literally in the town Michael was born.
Yeah, that's where I was.
backyard.
That's where I grew up, is in Indianola. So it's about 30 minutes away.
Rallycross is kind of our strong and mighty, our small but mighty program. Hey, look. Front page of STCA.com right now. Registration open for Dirtfish Rallycross National Championship. Right there. Top story.
That's convenient.
Taking place October 12th and 14th at the National Balloon Classic Memorial Balloon Fields in Indianola, located just south of Des Moines, Iowa. So, yes.
Yep. Boom. There you go.
It's 30 minutes from where we sit right now. So
Yep. I knew that it was part of the National Balloon Classic because we've been talking a lot about how we're kind of working together with that angle, and I didn't remember the name of the town.
Yeah.
My bad.
No,
That's on me.
we kind of live in Subaru Central around here, so our Rallycross program seems to do well, at least for one of the regions we have locally. So there's usually a couple guys that are pretty fierce competitors at the national event. So
yeah, the regions that have good sites for Rallycross have great programs. It's probably even more site dependent than autocross is. But yeah, it's a great program, and that'll be a really fun event. And unfortunately, it is scheduled the weekend before the Runoffs, so I will be traveling to the Runoffs and not able to be at it this year. But it's a rad event for sure.
I've noticed that seems like we've had, at least locally, we've had a lot where they'll get one event at a place, and then the owner realizes that it was more destructive than he had anticipated.
Yeah,
and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon phenomenon.
Yeah.
I'm glad they've continued to let them do it there, though, because I don't know if they're protective of that site. Maybe they're just good at maintaining it now.
I've heard they are rather protective of it.
Yeah, I mean, they use that. That's about all Indianola is known for, is that balloon thing that they do. So
Pretty fancy college
it's
there.
kind of important to them,
Yeah. It's interesting how important site maintenance is to Rallycross. I got to go out to the Dirtfish School in Washington last year and kind of take a tour and see what they do. And they've got 3 or 4 full-time 40-hour-a-week employees, and their entire job is to maintain dirt. They're trucking gravel out to because if it starts getting potholed up and real rough, then they start tearing up equipment, and it's cheaper to keep the dirt right than it is to constantly be fixing cars.
Yeah.
But I was super, super impressed with their facilities and what they do and how they do it. In my mind, I kind of expected to show up and there'd be like a box truck and an easy up and a couple of WRXs sitting there and let's go play in the dirt. But if you guys ever watched the show Twin Peaks, did you ever get into that?
I don't think so.
No.
So Twin Peaks they basically set this show up as a cop show in Washington State, and they built this police station to shoot the TV show out of on this old logging mill property. And when they were done with the show, it was just kind of there. And Dirtfish went in and bought the entire logging company plot, including this police station that had been built for the TV show. And they run their offices out of that building. And there's like Petter Solberg rally cars, and there's one of the old Escort rally cars in there, and like a full display of that. There's driver suits all the way down the walls from Formula One drivers and all kinds of cool memorabilia stuff. And then they use all of the roads for the logging company as the baseline for the rally schools. So it was a super dialed in facility. It was really cool to check out.
Did you get to actually go play in the dirt?
We were there just for a couple of hours. I got to take a ride along with one of their instructors, and they teach a all-wheel drive school in WRXs, and then they do a rear drive school in BRZs. And I got to ride along in one of the BRZs, and that was a really cool experience. So I think I put a video on Instagram. So if you follow me, you can see like how cool it was. It was super lit.
Did you get to super lit? That's fantastic. You've been hanging out with Grid Life people too much.
I'm trying.
You must connect with the youth.
That's right.
He's a marketing person.
Did you get to jump a car? I gotta know.
I don't believe that we actually left the ground. It never got quiet, so I'm going to assume we were on the ground the whole time. Bummer.
So,
I was just taking a look here at the registration for the Rallycross in Indianola.
Yeah.
So size-wise, comparison, 125 people, competitors. So yeah, it's obviously that program's gotten a lot more popular in the last 5 years.
It's definitely growing.
Small but mighty for sure.
Yeah. The seems like the people who are diehard into it are like extra diehard into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's they eat, sleep, and breathe rally and rallycross, and that's what they do, which is really cool. I think that because rally's really hard to be accessible, like to a fan. So I mean, you could go to an event, but it's really hard to spectate, I should say.
Yeah.
And so rallycross is probably easier to spectate, but probably not quite the same. But it's cool it's cool that it does so. Like people are so into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like, you go and do an autocross and you do it in the car you already have, and it's really cool, and you decide that you're going to do a couple more and have fun with it. And then like somewhere down the line, if you're going to get serious about it, you end up getting a car specifically for that. Either it's your daily driver that's more competitive in a class, or it's not your daily driver anymore, or whatever. I think with rallycross, you kind of do it in your street car, and you kind of step back from the first event and go, "Whoa, this is going to scratch my paint and stuff." And so the people that aren't going to get into it are out immediately, and the people who are into it are like immediately going to Craigslist and finding a rallycross car. And so it creates like this. It is super accessible. You can totally do it competitively and have a blast in $1,000 car. But like that kind of first, like there's not a lot of shallow water in the rallycross world for you to wade your way into. You're kind of either going to jump into the deep end or you're not going to do it. And so that's why I think you see a lot more like the people that are into it are super into it.
They're also very open to co-driving, as I've found out by saying I wasn't that interested in doing a rallycross event, and then being bombarded by people. Yeah. Oh, just come and do it. You can co-drive my car.
Yeah, that's less about being open about co-driving and more about being rabid about getting the sport to grow. Like everybody wants somebody to come, to be the gateway drug for somebody. So super, it's super fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's October 12th through the 14th, which I think is right after the last Grid Life event. Is that right?
It's pretty close.
That's the weekend after my birthday, so I think that's the last.
It's pretty close.
That would be after that, yeah.
So what's this road rally thing you spoke of? I must know.
We actually can't tell anybody about it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's see how it is.
So what's interesting about Road Rally is that Road Rally was kind of where the club got started. Like, we were road rally and cocktail parties and just good old fashioned American elitism. And
is that club still available, or is it
yeah.
around? Okay,
we can definitely do that.
okay, cool.
And it's gotten, like motorsports tends to. It's kind of evolved, and a lot of people have had bad experience with rally because the rally concept is that the rally master is trying to make it tricky and hard on you. But we've had some people over the last couple of years get more involved in rally and have kind of taken a let's make sure this is fun first approach. And when we did the Targa events in 2016 and 17, which was a kind of a traveling motorsports thing, we had like a ton of people that were like, do I have to do the road rally? I don't know if I really want to do that. And then we were like, well, you can not do it and you'll get 0 points and you'll be out of the hunt for your class win. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll do it. And like the people that were the most opposed to doing the road rally were the ones that had the most fun on it. Like, it's kind of this like scavenger hunt combined with driving on really cool roads, and if you get lost, then you've got to make up time, which you can't do by speeding, of course, because we would never endorse that.
Of course.
That would be illegal.
Right, yeah, and certainly, yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, moving right along. But yeah, people had a blast doing it. We've kind of seen a resurgence of it in the as a result of that. There's a really cool rally happening in Atlanta, out of Atlanta region, I think next weekend, that ends up at a drive-in movie theater. So it's a rally to a drive-in. And then the St. Louis region is doing a road rally, Rallycross hybrid event, I think in August. And then we'll have the United States Road Rally Championship, which is the national championship for road rally, in St. Louis later in the fall. So that'll be cool.
That interests me because I have a 2-year-old who, through no fault of my own, has seemed to develop a thing for cars.
Mm-hmm.
I swear it was not my fault. But that's something I could actually do with him.
Absolutely.
Which would be awesome. Because
he, just speaking from experience of having had two 2-year-olds now, I don't think he's going to be a very gifted navigator. You're probably going to want to engage at least a 5 or 6-year-old for the navigation side.
Well, I mean, I could find a co-driver, but at least put him in the back seat of whatever I'm with and take him with, and at least he can experience the event.
Yeah,
more so than say, a track night in America where I feel like they would frown on having my kid in the back seat.
We actively discourage it.
I mean, you choose your way, I'll choose mine, I guess.
Right. But yeah, what about Time Trials Nationals? Are you guys going to be able to make it down for that?
When is it?
September 27, 28, and 29, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I don't remember.
I've never been to Bowling Green, but I'd like to.
So I don't want to try to talk you into it. That's not what this is about. But
you sure can if you want.
We are.
We are currently working with the track, which happens to also have a go-kart track, to have some qualifying sessions for the go-kart track on Friday, and then some heat races. And I might be as excited about the go-kart tournament as I am about anything else to do with it at the moment. But we're working with I can't announce this yet because we haven't actually signed it. When are you guys going to air this?
Sunday.
So we're working with an on-track insurance provider to host one of our evening socials. So we're going to have one evening social that is like a full-on Southern-style barbecue, craft brewery kind of gig. We've got another night that's going to be like a cookout type of thing with the go-kart racing. And then Thursday night, because this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday night, we're going to have a track walking session. And I I don't know if you guys will be as excited as I am about this, but have you ever run like a 5K or anything like that?
Yes.
I don't. let's
Not
talk
on
about
purpose. No.
Right. It's terrible. It's
not. Yeah.
So,
It's been a long time, but never
so
again.
I believe that we're going to have some comfort stations around the track for the track walk that will allow you to dispose of your aluminum beverage container and then refill your koozie with a fresh one.
Right.
I wasn't aware that you could
so
get
we're-
water in aluminum cans. It's interesting.
He's got that Budweiser hookup when they do the.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, super important to stay hydrated during a 3.2
It's
mile
understandable.
track walk.
It is the South. It's hot there. You know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're looking at we want to see 225 entrants to that event. Hopefully, Grassroots Motorsports. We were talking to them this morning about being there with a booth and doing a live show from the event. Grid Life is working on bringing some teams together, and we're going to give them some premier paddock space. So if you're buddies with Adam and the crew, then talk to them about getting into that spot. Hawk Breaks is coming. Coney is coming. I keep talking about Coney and Hawk in the same sentence rapidly, and everybody thinks I'm saying Tony Hawk as opposed to Coney Hawk. But we think that maybe we'll have a Coney Hawk skateboard party. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. And then Mobile One is also going to be on site, so we're going to have a lot of partner support for that event, and I think it's going to be super rad.
Yeah, time attack, time trial. That's kind of my. Despite the fact that I can't afford to compete in it, it's my thing. I really enjoy the idea of it, at least, and so going to that would be high on my list. But I've taken too much vacation time this year for motorsports events the way it is. I don't know if I can.
Might have to actually go on a family vacation.
Well, no, like I think I'm running low on vacation.
Running out of work days you can take off.
It's been rough.
I can't speak for you guys, but I found that taking absolutely no vacation for anything other than motorsports was a really great way to get out of my first marriage.
Okay.
So, take that for what it's worth.
I'm focusing on the 2-year-old that really likes cars angle right now.
Yeah.
Why don't we all go to the race? It'll be our vacation.
Yeah, I did take both of my kids. We rented a pop-up camper from outdoorsy.com, which we're not partners with.
Are you plugging that right now?
I am plugging that. It was super cool. But we rented a pop-up and went to CMP for the Time Trials Primer, and that was super fun. There were a ton of kids there, and I grew up at the track, and it was a lot of fun to watch my kids kind of have that riding bikes, playing in dirt, getting bit by fire ants experience that I remember so fondly from my youth.
Yeah, no, I grew up at drag tracks every single weekend of my life, so I get the family aspect of racing as well. So,
yeah.
When do you find time to sleep?
A lot of it's on airplanes.
I can't sleep on airplanes. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah. That's the beauty of kids, is that sleep is just shot. So why even try?
It's just a constant state of being not
tired.
No, it's constant of being tired, not well rested.
Yeah.
So it's just life at that point.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't enjoy it. Don't
life as an
it.
insomniac.
I refer to it as being my best self.
I wasn't even, considering the kid aspect of it. I was just like, 1,400 people are going to be in Lincoln. Like that's a lot of stuff to do. That's one event. My normal work month is I actually live in Weaverville, North Carolina, near Asheville, and I work out of an office here in town the second and fourth weeks of every month. But the first and third week, I drive to Greenville, South Carolina at 4 a.m, fly to Atlanta, fly to Kansas City, drive to Topeka, get there at noon, work in Topeka Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then return trip back and get home at like 2 a.m. on Thursday. So sleep is just it's not part of the gig. Is that an SCCA office there, or is that just something
it's the office?
No, not Topeka, Asheville.
No, it's just that's where I happened to be when I got the job, and it's where I wanted to be, so it's where I am.
Topeka's such like a destination location too. I'm sure that that's a real perk of the job.
if I, it's kind of unfair. I think Topeka's a great little town. It's a state capital. There's a lot going on there that you might not assume. For me, my family is all in this part of the country, so this is where it makes sense for me to be. But yeah, it's really hard to convince somebody that might live in a Dallas, Texas area, for example. I'm not going to name any names.
I know who you're talking about.
That to uproot and come to Topeka, it can be a tough thing, but I like it. There are a lot of great people there. A lot of great people that work in the office. So if I had family around Topeka, I wouldn't hesitate to be there.
Yeah.
Do you know why they built that office there?
I do.
I just wonder because it's right next to. Okay, you don't have to share it. I was just curious, but I was just wondering because it's right next to Heartland Park, and that struck me because I hadn't been to Heartland Park until last year, and I was like, oh, like you could, you'd have to have a hell of an arm, but you could throw a baseball and hit Heartland Park.
Yeah. There was. It's probably a better story in person. I'll just go with that. Yeah. I will say, the city of Topeka worked really hard to make an attractive package with Heartland Park and Solo Nationals and Runoffs and all of those things in the national office in one place. And it just didn't completely come together on our side as well as maybe it could have. But it was an interesting decision.
It's centrally located.
It is centrally located.
It's great for trucks and trailers.
And it is right next to a racetrack, so that's
right
good.
To a racetrack. So
that's a positive.
It's logical. So, should we try this lightning round thing?
Yeah, are you
ready for this?
Before we started, Heyward let us know he's got 3 or 4 hours for the lightning round. So, Adam, if you want to get started,
That's good.
We'll just. I think I might go do something else if that's okay.
Sure.
I was thinking about leaving, but
you got to get your swole on.
You can catch up on some sleep here.
I go to get some sleep and go to the gym. I think, but yeah, go ahead and get started, Adam.
All right, are you ready for this?
These are all going to be essay answers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Long format.
Yep. I'm good. I'm good with that.
All right, so I have 5. My phone died, so we'll see if I can remember all 5 of them. But we're going to try and just run these out, okay? All right, first one. Miata swapped S2K or S2K swapped Miata?
The S2K motor should end up in the Miata.
You think that's a better chassis?
I think that's a better chassis.
All right, I know you're an S2K owner. I was trying to play on that.
I appreciate the effort, but yeah, I want the lightweight, shorter wheelbase with the 9,000 RPMs. That's what I want.
Coolest track in America?
What are we doing on it?
Yes.
Damn it. Oh man,
that's a tough one.
It's like who do I want to piss off the most?
Well, and I mean, you've got to be one of the people who's been to the most.
I've been to a few.
Given that you've grown up in it and now are living it, like, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to break this into some categories.
Okay.
Road Atlanta was the coolest track in America in the original configuration.
So I've heard.
I'm going to say that from just stepping onto the surface and standing there and being present in it and having goosebumps and holy shit, this is cool.
Indy.
No one can touch Indy. Indy is just in a totally different category in that regard. From a visually striking, oh my God, I cannot believe what I'm looking at. This is insane. Laguna Seca, no question. But I think if I had to take, if this is the like, you've won the lottery and you have a truckload of cars and you and your buddies can go to a track and just drive for as long as you want to and do whatever. I think right now that's got to be VIR.
Okay.
That seems to be the theme lately.
Yeah.
A lot of our guests are picking VIR.
VIR is pretty boss. I'm gonna mention one dark horse, and that is Blackhawk Farms.
That's interesting because that's like just a little bitty, track.
But it's a little bitty track, but it's just such a like
cool place.
Yeah, you just walk into that place and like all of a sudden it's 1954. Like there's something about that that's so timeless and so cool. And I don't know. I've only been to Black Hawk once, but it captured my imagination, and I would love to go back and drive it in anger sometime.
I'll plug it for him. Track day picnic, grid life.
Yep.
There it is.
Most interesting thing that's shown up at a track night in America. I know you have been in the past at least heavily involved in the whole program.
No, I think there are a couple of that deserve mentions here. The most creative ever. We have a no race car policy for track night, and the reason for that is we don't want people who are having their first ever track experience to be in a paddock full of race cars, like in the same way that you would probably feel pretty weird showing up at a pickup game for basketball and there's like 6 NBA guys that are playing.
LeBron James is hanging out.
Right. Like this is not what I signed up for. So we had a guy in Charlotte who sent us an email and said, I have a modified Camaro. It has a stock engine. It has he gave us like 3 things, and he was like, am I good or not? And we were like, if it's a production, blah, blah. And like his whole thing was, it's not plated. It doesn't have a license plate. And we're like, yeah, that seems like it's going to be fine. Like stock engine, we don't really care that it's not plated. It's got some modifications, cool, whatever. We show up, and this is a crate motor, tube frame, full on GT1 car. Nice. Like slicks the whole bit, and he's like that was by far the most creative, and like he wrote the perfect email. He couldn't have done it better.
It's just a Camaro. I mean,
yeah, Camaro.
Was he wrong? Did he lie?
The engine came from GM.
He didn't lie.
Exactly.
It was a perfectly crafted email.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
It doesn't have a license plate.
Just doesn't have a license plate. It's not a big deal.
So that's my third place finisher. My second place finisher is my all time favorite track night person, whatever. Like we had a guy who sent us an email that said, I've always wanted to drive on a track. It's my dream. It's what I've always wanted to do. But the only car I have right now is a Jeep Cherokee Sport. Can I do this in a Jeep Cherokee Sport? And we wrote back and said, hey, the only rule that you have to meet is you have to be wider than you are tall. So grab a tape measure your track, measure roof to ground. If track is wider than roof to ground, you're good to go. And by the way, I think we're doing a great job on this lightning round thing. This is really flying. And so he and like 3 days later, I get a call from one of my leads, and he's like, hey, I've got this guy here with a Jeep Cherokee that wants to run. Is that cool? And I'm like, well, is it wider than it is tall? And he's like, well, he went to a junkyard and bought 13-inch wheels and tires for it. And so technically, yeah. And I was like, cool, let him go. So that was the moment where we knew we were really onto something. If somebody's willing to go to a junkyard and buy steelies for their Jeep Cherokee to get it low enough to go on track, then we're somewhere. But
that's a level of dedication I'm
good for that guy, though.
Very proud of.
Follow your dreams.
But I think as far as what was the actual phrasing of the question? What was the best thing, the coolest thing?
Most interesting thing you've seen at Track Night in America?
So we had an actual homologated 67, I believe, FIA spec, original real deal Cobra show up at Heartland Park.
Like last week, wasn't it?
Last week, yeah. And that's got to be the coolest thing to show up. Just to look at one of those things is insane. But the opportunity to see one at speed at one of our events was super cool. And I sadly wasn't there, but a buddy of mine sent me some video of it. So that's my winner.
I saw a video of it. I'm friends with Chris on Facebook.
Yeah, Chris pasted it. Yep.
And I saw it there. That was quite a sight to see that car going around. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's the kind of thing that you go to Monterey to the historics to see something like that happen, and to have that happen at one of our Thursday night events at Heartland Park was that was got to be one of the coolest things that's happened in the history of the program.
Yeah. most underrated solo or SCCA solo class to race in?
Most underrated?
Most underrated. From
C-
level of competition to cars, the interest.
Yeah, no, C
whatever.
modified, hands down, no question.
Those are so cool.
What's the C mod class?
So C mod is Formula Fords and Formula Fs, and you can buy a legit competitive real deal car for $8 to $12K. They weigh 1,000 pounds with driver. They make 115-ish horsepower. They have real suspension. I've driven one at Nationals the last 2 years ago. Stacy Stroud out of New England region let me drive her car. And yeah, I mean, like, insane competition, insanely fun cars to drive. And like, there's something about driving a purpose-built, this is what it was meant to do, race car that is just crazy cool. And it kind of has, because everybody either runs the old Kent Ford engine or the Honda Fit engine, which is tuned to make the exact same horsepower in exactly the same way. Everybody runs basically the same shock. Everybody runs the same tire. There's not a lot of difference in the chassis. So it's super competitive. It's super easy to be competitive. And I just think the cars are just so much fun to drive.
And those are like club legal too, wouldn't they be?
Yeah, you could totally do dual purpose it.
Put a fire system on it and change some setup things, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and if you really wanted to, you can hill climb those cars.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Crap.
Uh-oh.
Here's where we fall apart. I don't even remember what the last one was. Oh, no, I got it. Here we go. The number one problem that the SCCA faces in finding and keeping new membership.
Oh, boy. Well, when I was a child, I think the number one problem historically has been that SCCA has directly and indirectly communicated to the members and the world that we most value and occasionally only value people who are really good drivers, who are really fast, who can win championships. And it turns out that this shit's kind of hard. And I think that it's been historically really hard for people to feel like they deserve to be here, belong here, are part of this organization, that this organization wants them, unless they are at that kind of crazy pointy end. I think people that have kind of slogged through and been around for 10 years have kind of found their space. But when the communication is, we are the place where you go to prove how good you are at this, nobody starts off really good at it. And I think that makes it a really steep hill to climb in those first couple of years. So, that's been a huge part of my mission, and with the experiential programs and the marketing department, to kind of break that communication and make it that we're an organization for people who like having fun with cars, who like driving on racetracks, who like autocrossing. If you want to be competitive, we've got places where you can do that. But if you just want to have fun, that's what we're really all about. So I think from like a historical perspective, that's probably the biggest piece. And I think the reality of just kind of where we are as a society, I think the other piece is that we do really great with people in their 20s, and we do really great with people in their late 40s, 50s, 60s. But it's really hard to engage people that are in that kind of career building, family building, mid 30s to late 40s range. So there's always some stuff that kind of works against us there. But I think that's my answer, is that we were maybe kind of assholes about competition for a really long time, and we're trying to be a little different now.
I think that from the outside looking in, you guys have done a very good job of that.
Cool. That's good. Good to hear.
So
I have a lightning round question.
All right.
Has the SCCA officially or unofficially named an award?
Oh, geez.
Based on a conversation that we have had in the past.
Let me think about this for a second.
It's time.
I did see somebody that got their 10-year pin from SCCA recently that after their name had an acronym that was TGFGI, I think. So, yeah.
Yes.
I think we can say that has actually become a thing. Yes.
I don't know if I'm proud of that or
You left your mark?
yeah.
You wanted to get a rule written after you. This
That's
is kind
not
of
quite.
close.
I mean,
You're
an
getting
award,
close.
I don't know. I'm not mad about it.
I mean, we haven't actually written criteria to award it, but I think we probably should. So, all right. So I got a couple of lightning round questions.
Oh
for you
God,
guys.
bring it.
All right. I'm not making any promises, but if you could change one thing about motorsports in the United States, what would it be? One thing.
Ooh.
Oh man.
That is extremely difficult.
The problem is, like, for me personally, the only reason I'm not more involved in my local motorsports is because my car is constantly broken down, and so I just can't. I'm not in a place where I can fix it.
And that's not on the SCCA.
That's not anybody's fault but my own. And so I don't even, I don't know. In years past, like when I did compete, there was always that fuddy-duddy, that guy that like ruined it. That just like, come on, man.
I know him.
We're on a local level. Just calm down. And it'd be nice to kind of not see that guy so often.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. The next one's easier. M3 or 911?
Oh gosh, see, that's not easier because we are pretty. A few of us, at least, are pretty active opponents of both.
Can I have the 911, but nobody knows about it?
Yeah, I think I'd have to do the 911.
That's why they make window tint.
But it's illegal here.
Well, yeah, we can't really even have any window tint here. The problem with the 911 is that in our circle, if you have a podcast, you have to have a 911 or you have to love the 911, which is really annoying because since I was a small child, I've wanted a 996, which I know annoys Porsche purists anyway, which kind of
works out.
Reinforces my want for it, but
it annoys me that the 996 existed when you were a small child. I find that infuriating in and of itself.
Fair point. But so left to my own devices, didn't build a drift car, yada yada, whatever. I would probably buy a 996 if we didn't have the podcast. But now that we have the podcast, I feel really guilty wanting to buy a Porsche because you can go to iTunes and look through the list of podcasts, and about 80% of them are Porsche related.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm glad that you could open up to us about that and really show your true self. That was good.
So the support group that I joined said that I should be more honest with people about the 911, and so I'm just trying to let people know my feelings about it.
It's weird. My support group has given me the exact opposite about everything. They're like, do not let people know who you really are. It is not good. All right, last question. The EF. I don't need to define that, right? We're all aware of what the EF is, right?
Robbie probably isn't. It's the square Honda from back in the day.
Yeah.
From back in the
91.
day.
There you go, 88 to 91. The best one. Let's be real here.
The pinnacle of automotive engineering, true or false?
Oh, God.
Can I have the Wago van?
Yes, that's part of the suite. It's the CRX, it's the Wago van.
Oh, it's the CRX
Then
too?
absolutely.
It's the 4-door EX with the disc brakes all the way around. It's the SI hatch, like it's the whole suite.
Here's the thing. So about that car, I currently own a 1984 Dodge Omni that I pretend to compete with autocross wise, and those cars are the bane of my existence because they're just better in every way than my car, and so I can't beat them.
So you're saying no.
So
you're going with true.
So yes, exactly.
I'm going with no because I can't drift it. I can't compete with it in drifting. How about that?
I mean, I don't understand why an all-wheel drive Civic wagon could not be made to drift. I don't know.
I think that's technically against the Formula Drift rules.
To have an all-wheel drive car?
To have it all. Wait a second, but
no,
Papadakis does whatever he wants. So
yeah, if I can build a competitive Passat, then I feel like I should be able to build a competitive Wago van.
That's true. Or that you could rear-wheel drive swap a CRX and
you'd be
now
fine.
we're talking.
They rear-wheel drive.
I know
swap
Ryan
to
Sage.
TC.
You just call Ryan Sage and be like, hey man, is this cool?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't move that much suspension stuff. Is this still cool?
Yeah, all the same suspension stuff is there. It's just behind me now.
Yeah. Or it's in the trunk.
If I were a Honda owner, that would be the Honda I would own.
I would have a CRX if I was going to. No, I wouldn't. I would have an S2000.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't, though.
I'm going to have to go with no. Because the ultimate Honda for me probably is the S2000. Or the original NSX.
Yeah, I'm right there with Michael. 100%.
All right, I'm done. I'm good.
That's enough? You've had plenty?
I mean, we can speed round as long as you want.
This is nothing fast about it.
Yeah, exactly. I started timing the speed round. It started 18 minutes ago. Because I wanted to know.
Perfect.
I don't think there's a single listener who's surprised by any of this.
Or disappointed.
Right. I mean, do you think people are still listening?
Yes.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we
Awesome.
constantly are getting requests for longer shows or 2 shows a week, despite the fact that we're over 2 hours regularly.
I can talk slower if that helps.
I don't think it will, but maybe.
That's not the point.
I don't think
that's what they're after.
that'll appease them. I think they want more arguing about the news. I think that's what they're looking for.
Oh, we
should have had a group thing
it's
where they
okay.
just give us random questions, like an AMA for Heyward.
They'd be asking what kind of wine do you drink, or
You drink microbrews. Everybody knows that.
oh, that's fair.
Have you guys seen what happens to me when I go on a GRM live cast?
No. Should we watch the GRM live
Oh
cast?
my god, it's it's torches and pitchforks. It's amazing.
People coming out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah, the 4 guys that have decided that the time trials rules are all wrong because they can't win. Just bash me constantly. It's so much fun. What I really enjoy doing is going back and reading the comments after the show, and just watching these people lose their mind about that. I mean, seriously, the trophies are $10. Just go buy one. Just go buy one. It's such a shorter path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't understand it. They don't get the whole point behind the thing.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, the whole point of what we're trying to do with time trials is be creative, have fun, and try to do better than you did last time. And, we're going to give some people some trophies, but we really need you not to base your self-worth on that. That's a really difficult thing for us to manage as a sanctioning body.
What's fascinating to me is that that's usually the same age category that complains about how they give participation trophies to all the young kids.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to start a fight here. It just seems to be a thing. So,
yeah, I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny that rumor, but there is some correlation.
So,
All right. I think on that note, we'll let you go, Heyward. We appreciate you coming on.
We should go before I dive into my theory about high school popularity and SCCA membership and behaviors it gets really uncomfortable for people at that point in time.
I don't want to.
It gets a little too real.
I don't want to get you fired. Let's not go there.
Yeah, not tonight. Not over this.
We'll choose a different night. There's plenty of time you can come back.
That's
and
not
talk
what
to
I
us
want
about
to be known for.
those theories, conspiracy theories, whatever you want to talk
That
about.
could be the off-season topic.
Yeah, there you go. It's a little slow.
When you're ready to quit, you just let us know. We'll arrange it.
So I have to tell you this because it's amazing. I'm really good friends with a couple of the staff at Grassroots Motorsports, and they do a great job on a lot of things. And one of them is Tom Suttard, who is Tim Suttard's son. And Tim kind of got it all started, and he's the guy. And Tom and his dad have this wonderful father-son rivalry, friendship, professional relationship balance thing. Which is super cool to kind of watch them spar over breakfast at SEMA about whatever. But Tom has, and I believe him with all of my heart, Tom claims to have a file that is labeled the last issue. and what they basically do, what he has done over his lifetime of growing up in this magazine, is every time someone has said something awesome that can't be printed, it goes in the last issue file. And so he has like this stack of like, and we'll just be sitting at breakfast at SEMA, and I will say something disparaging or whatever, and he'll be like, that's going in the last issue file. So if Grassroots Motorsports ever does go down, you're going to want to buy that last issue. It's going to be amazing.
Everybody's going down everywhere, every organization.
Yeah. It'll show up in my mailbox just like the rest of them.
Yep. There it is. So.
It's fine.
Perfect. Heyward, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for sharing what you guys have coming up. You guys have a busy calendar, so we wish you best of luck, and I'm sure you guys will have a rad time. Yeah,
check out scca.com for event information, and we will be live streaming all of our Runoffs races there. So it's a great way to kill a weekend, watching 24 races coming from Sonoma, and since it's on the West Coast this year, it works out really well with the time zone thing. So you can kind of have a little brunch and watch some racing.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. We're gonna keep chatting. I'll text or email you later. We appreciate it, though.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Later. You want to do your opener?
Sure.
Let's do an opener presented by Factory Fabrication.
So, as everybody's well aware, Robbie went through some painful transmission
issues.
I'm going to use a full word transmission because painful tranny issues would not have been...
Or PC or any of the
Hey, you know
It's not
what? If I
appropriate.
went through painful tranny issues, that's my business, and if we could have a whole nother
We need
podcast
to leave that
about
off
that.
of this particular car-related podcast.
When has this ever been a car-related podcast? Just because we had Heyward Wagner
This is
on
a car-related
twice.
podcast 60% of the time.
Yeah, see, the 40% of the time is tranny-related.
Tell us about your... or wait, no.
So
you have
it's his opening.
Somebody reached out to me and said, I may or may not know what was up with Robbie's 5th and 6th gear synchros, and he believes that the culprit of this was people potentially
Allegedly.
resting their hand on the shifter as you're cruising down the road, and that pressure wears at the synchros and the gears inside of the transmission. And this was a concept I had never heard of before, so I did a little digging.
Yep.
And apparently there is some truth to this. So this is kind of my PSA.
No, I've seen these articles pop up, and it's like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. And I never really read them, looked into it at all. It's like, well, if you hit a bump, you could pop it into or out of gear.
I think that's maybe reaching it, but
yeah, it's like I didn't want to read it long enough to understand why. But yeah,
right.
wearing out your synchros is a pretty legitimate concern.
And so your 5th and 6th were the worst of the forward gears.
Yeah,
right?
fifth was absolutely the worst. Which, if I'm resting my hand in it, I guess I would push it into. Well, no, yeah, 5th and 6th were just worthless.
Right.
And then also reverse, which doesn't make sense to that theory, but
yeah,
who knows what they did to reverse?
Yeah. I don't even know what to tell you about that. But true or not, in your case,
that makes sense.
This is an interesting topic that I didn't know was a thing, and I felt like we should discuss in case the rest of us didn't know it was a thing, and maybe I can save a tranny.
We should always save a tranny.
I've never done this before.
What, rested your hand on a shifter?
On a tranny?
I don't do that.
You don't do that at all?
No.
See, I don't think I do.
I do.
I'll take my hand off it.
If it's an automatic, I absolutely do.
You should have your hands at 10 and 2, right?
Jeff gives me a hard time. Just like, what are you doing with your hand down there?
It's just resting it?
Yeah,
It's a comfortable spot to put it. I can reach my Mountain Dew from... Shut up. But no, yeah, I'm in control that way because my hand's on the shifter because I'm in control. I'm the man. Because I'm lazy and I just never lift my hand off the shifter.
We're getting really deep into this. First, Michael's like...
Yeah, open up about his
9/11 things, and now we're seeing that Robbie's got some
masculinity problems.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about how big my truck is?
He does have the largest vehicle. Actually, he may not have the largest vehicle.
Why not?
I bet the Genesis is longer and wider than the Avalanche.
There's no way.
It's just not taller.
It's long. It's very long.
It needs all those cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't do that in the Genesis. I don't do it in the RX-7. I don't do it in the Fiat.
I don't know that it
do
would
in the
matter in
Veloster.
an automatic. think this is. And the other thing is that I think that this is specifically a rear-wheel drive shifter actually physically attached to transmission issue. Because I feel like if you have a transverse cable-shifted vehicle, like you can do whatever the hell you want in there, and you're not going to hurt anything.
No, and that
may or may not be true. I don't know.
It holds water. Like when I had that transmission apart, you could definitely tell 5th and 6th had just been chewed up.
Right, and like those are not the gears you're power shifting.
You're not thrashing through those. Like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, nothing wrong with those. I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe 4th, I think, had a little bit of wear on it, but not enough for me to justify replacing it. Like you could just tell it had been used, but everything else was like perfect. And then 5th and 6th was just a smeared mess of gears or synchros.
Right.
So it was reverse. But again, I have no explanation for that. So yeah, don't rest your hand on your shifter because it's putting pressure on your synchros.
And may or may not be damaging things.
It seems to be.
I feel like it's at least valid enough to be concerned about over long periods of time.
But if you do, it only takes like a handful of hours to pull your transmission by yourself, rebuild it, and then put it back together by yourself. It's really not that hard. Anybody can do this in your garage by yourself. You don't have to do this.
Again, we're getting deep into the life of Robbie here. You don't have to do it alone, Robbie.
Like, this is the first time I've ever done a transmission in and or out and then rebuilt and then back in all by myself. No help at all.
Are you proud of that?
Yes.
Of course he is.
A little bit. I don't need no stinking help. He's professed
that he doesn't have friends on purpose.
I don't need no help.
Doesn't need friends.
Just knock that out in an afternoon by myself. Actually, the most frustrating part is you get that really nice transmission, that tranny jack.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's like a scissor lift, and it brings it up and puts it in the tunnel all nice.
Did you buy one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Harbor Freight has it for like nothing. There's a giveaway.
Because you were like really trying not to buy a tranny jack.
No, I absolutely needed one.
You ended up buying one. I think that's the wise.
This is the 3rd time I've done this. I feel like I needed it.
You didn't want to bench press a T56?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
they're heavy.
I kind of had to, but it was still so much easier than the SR20. So much easier.
Right.
I was messing with it. I have the drive shaft in. I'm kind of turning it and getting everything lined up. It just went thunk. No. No way. It was harder to get the transmission jack and the transmission under the car and then up into the tunnel than it was to just line it up. Because I had to lift the whole car
high enough.
Yeah, another like 4 or 5 inches so the whole thing could slide under it.
Right.
Because that's way too dang tall.
You're running out of jack height on your...
I absolutely was. It was super dangerous.
Jack stand height.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once it's under the car into the tunnel, it's fine. But getting it under the bumpers and under the suspension and stuff to get to that point, I had to lift.
Did you come in from the side or
from the back?
From the back, that was easier.
I couldn't do it from the side. There's no way.
Side skirts are probably lower than the back bumper.
Getting it under the frame and everything just wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
But yeah, so I tried it that way, and I was like, well, I could just lift it onto the transmission jack, and then go up. No. Just lift the whole car. But if you don't want to do that by yourself in your garage on a Saturday, don't lean your hand on the shifter. Or call some friends.
I mean, it's
call a friend. Oh, yeah. Even
get your friend from your friend's store because they just give them away. People are busy. They don't want to be helping me doing crap.
I would have come and helped you. I would have drove
You were busy.
I would have drove like the 3 hours it is to the estate from my humble abode, and I would have helped.
In rattlesnake country? Nobody wants to go down there.
I'll risk it. Okay. I'll risk it for you, Robbie, because that's just the kind of friend I am.
They found a rattlesnake next to Robbie's house.
No, they didn't. It was like 8 miles from my house.
It was close to your house.
Now he's losing his mind about it.
I knew it was there. I told you there were timber rattlers. I told you.
Shit that can kill you in Iowa.
I fucking told you so.
I told you there's rattlesnakes in my place.
Pointer finger out. Oh,
Do we have any more tranny talk?
I think I'm fresh out of things to say about trannies.
All right.
Just watch your synchros, bro.
They're fresh now. They're fresh.
Don't touch it.
No.
Let it go.
That being said.
You went on an adventure with the car this weekend.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that if you want.
Real quickly.
Sure.
Transmission things.
But anyways, if you're going to rebuild your transmission, just wait, be patient, tear it apart completely, and then order your rebuild kit. Because then you know exactly what you're replacing, not spending a bunch of money on all these parts. You're like, oh, these are all perfect. I don't need to replace them. So I had like
extra shipping when you found out you needed more parts.
Yes, like complete synchro assemblies that I wasn't expecting to buy. But anyways, But then, I took it to Cars and Coffee. They did the coffee cruise here in town. So you meet at REI, and then you cruise to like these sponsors, I guess. And then you just meet downtown.
Sure.
Then they do a raffle and give away a bunch of free stuff.
Did you get an invite to this?
I did not get an invite. I
Robbie?
just saw a picture after he was already there.
Yeah, it was
on
interesting
Instagram.
because that
I
was
think.
also where I got. Well, no, I didn't. Somebody else posted pictures of his car.
Yeah.
This is the only place I saw it. Be still my beating heart, I believe, is what he said.
People like that car sometimes. Sometimes they hate it.
Some people are into racers.
I know they are.
It is what it is.
I'll be at Hot Import Nights as you're listening. Well, I'll be home from it by the time you're listening to this. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get an invite either, oddly enough. It's interesting, isn't
And
it?
it's
invite
where
you
we
to-
live.
Yeah.
Oh, you could have.
He invited us to the thing he knew we weren't going to go to.
Yeah. Hey,
Hot
you guys want to
Import
go
Nights.
to
You
Hot
guys-
Import
you guys
Nights?
wanna go to Hot
You
Import
wanna
Nights?
Cannonball to Minneapolis with me?
No.
Yes,
Like-
you do.
Can I bring my 2-year-old with me?
I didn't
Yeah,
say
exactly.
that. I
No.
didn't say that.
No.
Goodness. Actually, I literally thought you both had things going on, so I didn't say anything. I was just like, Friday night, you know what? I'm going to go. And then I
don't
went.
even.
I rinsed the car off with the
I'm not
hose.
the
and
thing is,
wiped
like,
it
I'm
down.
not going to show up to a car cruise with my caravan.
I assumed.
You know, that's
Yeah.
that's the problem. Right
I'll be
now.
honest with you. I didn't partake in the cruise. I just went my own way and then met them at the end.
That's probably what I would have done too.
I went and got Jess. Then we met up with everybody. Had some chicken. It was good.
Ooh, I like chicken.
Yeah. Then when everyone else was like walking around the cars, we were just like walking around Waterworks Park, just hanging out. After we were, you go through it once. It's a car show. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
time to go.
Classic Robbie distancing himself from people.
Yeah, no, I get it.
how many people were there?
He didn't talk to any of them, but there were some people there.
Actually, it was really nice.
Ever the show promoter, Robbie.
Yeah.
That's okay, Robbie.
Some people just aren't meant to talk to people.
No, I understand that.
That's why
I've
we
come
do
to
an
that.
internet radio show.
Right.
where
I've
people
come to
can't
terms.
call
Well, he only
in
has to talk to 2 people and maybe a third person.
Yeah, occasionally.
That's nice.
And it's once a week.
He can muster up the courage once a week.
It
right?
burns him out for the rest of the week, though.
I know, because on Saturday when a couple guys come up to me and were talking about the car, I was like, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
It's cool.
It's got a motor.
I put an engine in it.
It makes 8 cylinders.
It's loud now.
It makes 8 cylinders. That's awesome.
Well, the funny part was he's like, yeah, I got this real cheap exhaust. I was like, hey, me too. It's exactly the same one.
Was he a fellow 240 owner?
No, he had a Subaru, but we had literally the exact same cheap exhaust.
Oh,
So I
okay.
thought it was really funny.
All right.
Factorfabrication.com. Ooh, look at you popping up. There you go. You're right at the website. Look at that. It's Booney Welding. I think it's
Is that Booney?
I don't know. It's a nice picture, though.
Yeah.
Factorfabrication.com, Factor Fabrication on Instagram. He's been posting a lot of stuff about some of the home stuff he's been doing.
Yep.
Stair rails and whatnot.
Not at my house, though.
Metal stair rails. Coming to a estate near you, Robbie. I think.
Yeah.
Possibly yours.
Get a rattlesnake cage.
Rattlesnake cage. He could probably make you a rattlesnake. He'd make you a nice rattlesnake cage. If you can catch that snake.
No, you can't touch them. They're in danger.
Oh, that's right. They're in danger.
Yeah, they're
can't touch
protected.
them.
You gotta,
Maybe he could build
What am
you
I
a
supposed
you
to
gotta
fence
just let him bite
to
you.
protect yourself
build
from
me
the snake.
Build me
There
a
you go.
moat so the snake can't get to
There
my
you go.
house.
He could probably. I mean, if you really wanted a moat, he probably knows a moat guy.
Yeah.
But he's kind of into like metalworking.
We could make a metal moat. To
If
go
he's
around
like,
my
I need.
estate.
If you go to Booney, like, I need a moat. He's like, I don't have the equipment for a moat.
I gotta make a call.
I could
Are
probably,
you sure you don't
I
want a
feel like-
fence? And then if you said no, he'd go,
No,
I'll
it's-
make a phone call, you loser.
think-
and then
I think I might-
everybody has fences.
I think I might be able to hook you up with a moat more than because at least the company I work for has digging equipment.
And
I could
I'm not
probably
aware
make
that he
it
has
happen.
any digging equipment.
Oh,
He's,
he could make some.
I know a guy that can like pull the permitting and all. We could probably. I could.
That'd be sweet.
he's in the middle of nowhere. Does that permit? Just get your locate.
I can make you a moat. You might want to go through your HOA first.
Oh yeah, that's probably on there. No moats. Somebody's ash.
Especially you, Robbie.
Oh god.
So if you need metalworking done or some woodworking and not moats, you can go to Factor Fabrication, check out all the stuff that they do, and hit him up. I think he's not quite as busy as he was a month ago. Meaning, like,
He's caught up. He's not as swamped.
he's not as swamped as he was, yeah. I think he was super swamped. Well, there was, like, home shows and stuff going on.
Oh,
so
yeah, so
There,
he's gotta
there were a lot of work going on
Go
there.
and talk to people too.
Yeah, well, trying to get stuff done for the home show and make cool stuff, and, you know how it is. Busy.
No, I don't know how that is. But I understand it'd be difficult.
So I'm going to do a short motorsport minute. Might actually be, it's probably not going to be a minute. Let's be real, because the lightning round went real well.
It's going to be 18 minutes.
It's going to be 18 minutes. Motorsport, 18 minutes.
I realized halfway through my lightning round questions that those questions are too hard to answer quickly.
Yeah, and he didn't have them beforehand, so it wasn't like he was ready to.
Well, that was the point. I was like, hey.
Quick ones.
Quick answer.
Yeah.
So just a quick one. Monroe, Washington, Formula Drift. Formula Drift's back from their break, so it would have been 2 weekends ago now. They were at Monroe, Washington. Just a couple quick things I want to mention, which, Robbie, you won't have this pulled up, but Cameron Moore drove like a madman. He's from the Northeast. He's the butcher because he is a butcher. And if you can find his car, his livery is great, but it's not as good as his racing bibs, which are black with blood on them, and he has a white apron pattern on the bibs. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he's the deal. That car is sick.
What is it?
2J, but it's just,
Is that an FRS?
FRS or a BRZ.
Okay. Right, yeah. Toyo Baru.
It's got a big old knife.
It's got a knife on the side and blood all over it.
Oh,
last year's car was red with the same kind of livery.
The red one's not as good. The black one is super metal.
I didn't see the.
But he was out there. I mean, he was driving. He had like 2 one more times with Castro, and he was just having it.
I actually watched that one because it went from when I watched the first round. I'm like, I thought Castro had it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, Castro's got it. Then they're like. One more time, I was like, oh, they're giving him the home guy.
He's going to give him one more shot, yeah.
Yep, we're going to give it to the home guy. And then the second, I was like, ooh, I could see either one. And then went one more time. And then it completely shifted to the butcher. I'm like, oh, he snuck
in there, yeah.
He took it. That was a good battle.
That was some good drifting this past weekend for sure. Anyway, I just like him. He used to run an SC300 a couple years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. So he just seems like a cool dude, and he's actually a butcher. So,
which is pretty fucking sweet.
That's pretty metal too. He's probably the most metal dude on the grid.
Vegan thing,
Yeah, he's for sure pro vegan. So
vegan treasures.
Vegan lifestyle. So anyway, I did Cameron Moore. He's one of my favorites.
He's a rad dude.
He's a rad dude. Jeff Jones was another guy that was out there killing it this weekend. He was just having the time of his life, driving really well. Got in the top 16. He's just got a cool car. He's just one of those guys that is a really good driver and probably not as well funded as some other guys.
Yeah, so he's got a Siki sponsorship, so I assume it's LS swapped, right?
Yeah, I think it is LS swapped. He is definitely sponsored by Siki. He's got a lot of people that support him, but like I said, I don't think his program's as developed as some other people's.
Oh, for sure.
But I think he's been driving pro since 2009, so he's been around for a long time.
Oh, wow.
So he's a guy that definitely deserved to do well this weekend, and he did. So that was cool. The finish was James Dean, number 1, Ryan Turek. I think I always say it wrong.
Ryan
Turk. Yeah, it's just Turk. Ryan Turk was 2nd, and then Peter Visick was 3rd.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and I'm not the biggest Ryan Turk fan, but I really wish he would have beat James Dean because I feel like he deserved it more.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think that I don't think he outdrove James, but I just felt like if he could have pulled that together, that would have been a better victory. Because James is like smoking everybody in points right now by like 100 points.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen Ryan.
It's hard to come back from that.
I'd like to see Ryan get it. I think he's deserving of it. He's been driving hard. He's had some problems and things, but he's been driving hard. So, and then the battle between James and Peter. I'm not really sure how Peter could get that close to somebody when he was chasing. He was literally just like touching him
glued
the whole time.
The whole time.
And he, I think he deserved. I think James deserved the win, but because there's a lot that goes into judging, but I'm really not sure how someone could be that close to somebody for that long a period of time at that speed.
How do they determine third? Is it whoever lost to whoever won?
No, I'd have to. It's the bracket thing.
Well, yeah, but like they don't have like the third and fourth guys fight out each other to determine third. So like, how do you decide that guy's third over the other guy?
Seating, based on seating. Here, hold on. I'll pull up the chart.
Yeah, it's a bracket. thing. It's a sports ball thing.
Sports ball things that we aren't going to understand anyway.
Well, sports ball, they actually play it out, so
it makes sense if you.
Well, I'm surprised they don't. Honestly.
If you follow the bracket through, it makes sense.
I kind of wish they would play it out.
Oh, you mean have a 4-person playoff?
Yeah,
Take the last.
I see.
Take whoever got first and second, whoever lost to them last round. Have those guys run for third.
Yes. So the two losers from the semifinals.
So like whoever Dean and Turek ran.
Yep.
In the semifinal.
Yep.
They run, and whoever wins that one is third. That's how I would.
Yeah, so it should have been Pollock versus Turk.
No, Pollock versus Visick. Because Turk won.
Right.
Turk got second. He was in the
backwards.
final.
Yeah, I'm backwards then.
So it would have been JTP.
Yes.
10/10 alumni. Hell yeah. Against Visick.
Yes. And then Turk and Dean for
the actual final.
That would have been good because JTP's been driving
super great,
really good all year. He just hasn't. It's like literally his last battle. It's like he keeps getting fourth, you know. But his qualifying is nuts.
He's doing well in points considering he hasn't made it into a final round yet.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he's consistently been high enough that he's doing well.
He's definitely doing well, and he qualifies really well. I mean, I think he's qualified first or second or in that range pretty consistently, or not consistently, but has qualified first or second at different events this year. But yeah, I would really like to see him
start getting some wins,
podiums. Get some wins.
He was such a humble, normal dude when we talked to him.
That was like the most starstruck I've ever been.
We were like,
I'll be honest.
Well, it's because he was right there.
Street Fighter. Like sitting in my mother-in-law's camper table.
The worst part was when it was like we went to go get him. So I go over to his pit and like, hey, you want to do this show? And then he's like, yeah, hop on the golf cart.
I know we rode.
And then we rode all the way from the pits to the campsite, and I'm just sitting there going, fuck, what do I say? What do I say? Nothing. I can't say anything. I'm so stupid. What do I do with my mouth, my hands? Nothing. I'm sat there silently like,
that's all right.
This is cool.
Thanks, JTP.
You're nice. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
I hate people.
Why did I agree to
get
this
out.
podcast?
Why am I not sitting in the back? Why can't somebody else sit up here?
So anyway, that's it for drifting.
Okay. It was cool. I actually did watch some of that this weekend.
Let's do the news. We start with some very unfortunate news.
It is sad.
It is sad. We had originally chosen a series of stories to talk about Sergio Marconi, and he had some prevailing health issues that had required him to step down from FCA, Fiat, Ferrari, all the above. Basically, he had left all of his posts, and he had been replaced by the company so they could continue their operations. And then we learned, I think, early this morning, which it's Wednesday, that he had passed away.
Yep.
That happened
very
fast.
Quickly.
It went from being like
he's not doing
surgery to surgery didn't go so great to just gone.
He's dead. Yeah.
Like 2 days, like what, a day and a half?
Pretty much.
And I thought it was shoulder surgery.
I read a few things. I couldn't get an answer on what it was, but yeah, it didn't sound like it was anything crazy high risk. Yeah.
He wasn't that old, 66, I believe, if I remember correctly. Not.
That's when you start retirement. That's,
yeah, exactly. You know, that's not that far away from like our parents.
No.
10 years?
Yeah, roughly.
So
at some point we had said we were going to try to have him on the show.
That would be great.
Which is a bummer.
But no.
So we just talked about him screaming at people the other day.
I know.
I think that's when we said that.
Well, I feel like we've probably said that more than once.
Yeah.
Because he's, historically, he's been our favorite.
He has been.
Because he says so many great.
He has so many great.
Like one-liners.
Yeah, when he was talking shit about the 500E.
Yeah.
And how stupid that was.
Yeah.
And
electric cars.
Talking about how over my dead body all the time.
That will make Ferraris electric.
Yeah. That's not funny now. That is extremely not funny, actually.
But
well,
it was
They
great.
did just announce that Ferrari's going to go that direction.
I know. Seems timely.
So he's had enough.
It's a bum deal.
Out of here.
Yeah, that's
a
real bummer.
Seems like an all right. Didn't really look into the Ferrari dude, but the FCA replacement seems all right. Seems like a.
What do we know about him?
His name's Mike Manley, and I assume that they appointed him to
on his
oppose
name.
Dan the Man.
Yeah.
Or no, Dan the man. Shit, Dan the man.
Oh, man.
A man. Yeah, because
Dan
they were
man.
like this dude's.
He's a man, but we need a manly man.
Man. Like he's man. We need manly. Like this is
more man than just
A man.
This is
manly
manly.
man.
Yeah,
Mike
absolutely.
Manly.
Yeah.
That sounds like a superhero, or you know what I mean?
Manly
like GI
Mike.
Joe.
Manly
No,
Mike
that's like
Manly.
WWE wrestler.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe he is.
he's got like a Mike the Crusher Manly or something like
Maybe
that.
in the future, that's how they will appoint automotive executives.
Battle
is they'll-
Royale.
Just by
Well,
name.
that would be good, but I was going to say just purely by name.
Oh, purely by name.
Like he's got an okay track record. Well,
look at the name.
Valentino Balboni. That doesn't sound like a real name. Who's the new Max
That's the-
Venturi?
Valentino Balboni. He's the test driver for Lambo, right?
Right, and then he was replaced by Max Venturi, which is not a real name. I don't care how Italian you are. Max Venturi is not a real name that somebody gave you.
amazing.
Nobody gave you that name.
That's the
picked
best
it.
name ever. So we hired a guy here just recently. His name is Brian Bryant, and apparently his parents didn't like him.
No, that's mean.
I always wondered about that.
Why would you do that to your child?
Yeah.
Or like when people like John Johnson, which I know I've met a John Johnson before. I was like,
Yo,
are your parents okay? So they hate you.
Yeah,
you were a
absolutely.
mistake.
Yeah.
Or like they're just that boring.
My dad used to work with a guy whose name was Dick Burns. I mean, his name is Richard. but
Richard Burns.
He went
That's
by
a-
Dick.
that's a little better. That's at least
Well,
fine.
but in what?
Also, how did we get Dick from Richard? Where did that start? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand that one either.
So
So anyway, we're just appointing people based on names now, which
I'm
is
good
cool.
with that.
The other guy that wasn't, or no, wait a second. The Ferrari guy, his name was Louis Camilleri. Camilleri? He's
That's
Italian, obviously.
Not Italian enough, though.
Not Louis, no.
No.
Or maybe
When
it's
you have- when
Louis
you have names
Camilleri.
like
Ooh, I bet
Max
it's Louis
Louis.
Camilleri.
It's
Louis
Louis.
Camilleri.
Louis is
Ooh,
pretty good.
Louis
I'm good with
Camilleri. I bet
Louis.
that's what it is. He sold cigarettes, so obviously that's why he. That doesn't seem fair at all.
Bringing back the Marlboro sponsorships.
Yeah.
This will be good for racing, or not.
It might be. Who knows?
see why it
He
wouldn't
might
be.
be. He might be all right. Who knows? But he's going to be the new CEO of Ferrari. And then John Elkin, he's the chairman. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's the
They
worst.
should have
name.
called Max Venturi and see if he was available.
Yeah.
You want to be chairman of Ferrari?
How much is it going to cost to pull you away from Lambo?
Or no, it's all right. He worked for Philip Morris. Did I say he worked for Marlboro?
Yeah, or you said cigarette company.
Yeah, okay.
I said Marlboro.
Philip Morris, which probably owned Marlboro, which is where all that came from. So anyway,
Yeah.
sad day. There's
Yes.
no doubt about that. So the Department of Justice wants a refund from Georgia, specifically their sheriff, for buying a Hellcat.
Gwinnett County Sheriff.
Yeah, I
So
can see
apparently
why.
the DOJ will give you funds that they take from money laundering and drug
Illegal seizures.
Yeah, illegal
Yeah, yeah.
seizures, stuff like
Or
that.
legal seizures,
Well,
illegal.
yes,
stuff.
Illegal. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's what we need is
Illegal seizures. That's
yeah.
we got another problem.
But and they will give that money to local law enforcement that they can then use to purchase things they need. And apparently, Gwinnett County, which I think is a majority of Atlanta, decided they needed a Hellcat.
Well, I think
Specifically, the man in charge.
the sheriff, Butch Conway. I assume he got named. He got appointed
hired
to that
as
for
a-
his job.
Absolutely.
The South, Butch
Right? Yeah, I was
Conway?
like,
Absolutely.
if you were gonna make a movie, right, and you were
sheriff is
in
called
Georgia, in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and we need a sheriff for Gwinnett County, you better damn well call Butch Conway. I'll tell you that right now.
his son, his son better be Twitty. I'm just saying.
So anyway, but apparently you have to like apply or tell him how you're going to use the money. So
Yeah.
he got it through
And
somehow.
they approved it originally.
And then they figured out that he was just basically driving the
Yeah,
Hellcat
it's for
around.
him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many times have you seen the Dare cars? I mean, I've seen like the Camaros and the Corvettes and stuff too. So I mean, this isn't the first time they've done this.
Well, then my hometown just took an old cop car and made it the Dare car. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. He said they were going to use it to like do events with it and bring it to car shows and races. And
yeah,
stuff
they do
and,
some drag racing
and prevent street racing with my Hellcat.
But then he ended up just driving it around.
On paper, it sounded like not the worst idea in the world. It sounds like he just pleasure drove it.
It's full murdered out.
Yeah, like he spec'd it full tint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Black wheels.
Black wheels, black on black on black. Just
that's the way to do it.
Murdered out.
God, it's going to be hotter than a son of a bitch in the summer, though. In Atlanta. It's going to be like 190 degrees.
Yeah,
that's what the tint's for, man. Super tinted windows and everything.
Yeah.
So,
I can.
So they want their money back. They're $70,000, which I
fair.
think is absolutely the right thing.
Especially if they're not using it the way they somehow got approved.
Yeah, it shouldn't have really made it through approval to begin with, in my opinion.
They probably look at so many chargers, you know. They just went, okay,
charger,
whatever,
yeah.
or it was lumped in with a bunch of other stuff, and then they went, wait a second, how much was this charger?
I had a buddy that was in the Navy that he basically did that as a joke. He spec'd out a bulletproof BMW and then put it on like the purchase order. Like he had to list all the stuff he had to order. Mm-hmm. So he walked into his boss's
put it in there.
Well, yeah, it was in there on his boss's. Brought it to his boss like a Friday afternoon or whatever. Just like, hey, I need you to sign this. Didn't even look. Signed it, and then like walked out and realized, okay, he didn't even notice. So we better fix that before we get that ordered. But I could see how someone's just like, yep, Challenger or Charger, yep. Just rubber stamping stuff.
Yeah.
Approved.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep. Still ridiculous.
Complacency, man. That's how you get them.
Yeah, it happens. All right. VW pushes WRC to go electric sooner than planned in 2022.
Shocking that Volkswagen, of all people, want to, make this electric.
Well, after winning Pikes Peak, they want to just take over now.
And they're trying to look at we're clean.
We're clean.
We never polluted the earth. We build electric things that are charged with diesel generators at the racetrack. But that's not the point. It's not the point. The main reason that I'm against this is because I can only assume that they'll have to do the same thing with those cars that they do with Pikes Peak electric cars and put that god awful ambulance siren on the front of it.
Are they gonna?
Because you can't have silent cars.
No, not in rally.
People die already by getting hit by rally cars that make like crazy noises.
All the noise.
You can't have a silent electrical car just like flying through the forest. The people will die. So it's going to have that stupid siren on it. Yeah. And for that reason alone, I'm out.
How they do?
And I even kind of like electric race cars. I'll say it.
Yeah, they're fast. So, but rally, I guess I'm not 100% familiar with it. But when they do these events, they do like 3-day events, and there's like 15 stages rallies over like 1,200 kilometers, right?
No, I don't think it's that long.
It's not that far?
That
250? 250?
I don't know how far a kilometer.
It's a long way.
It's a decent amount.
The point you were trying to make is going to be valid.
Yeah. How are they going to charge these sons of bitches?
I would imagine that in a similar fashion to filling it up, that they will make some sort of quick change battery pack, because they pull the car off. I mean, it's not like they just go from stage to stage to stage.
Multiple batteries.
So they'll just pull the battery. They'll jack the car up. They'll pull the battery pack out. They'll put the new one in, and they'll start the next stage.
I suppose.
Granted, it sits in the back of the truck with the diesel generator running, charging that one.
Details. I suppose. I guess I assumed it was longer for some reason. I thought that, like their stages were bigger.
I think the stage would easily be accomplished. I mean, if they could do Pikes Peak, I feel like they should be able
Pikes
to do.
Peak's only like 12 miles. Like a long rally, it's like 50 miles as a stage.
I don't know, I guess. But also, that car weighed like 35 pounds.
Right.
And even, like, they could amp up the battery pack if they had to.
But don't they struggle with overheating on anything?
I can only assume that they,
they'd always have to figure that out. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm not against it. It's just I feel like they're trying to make a real quick turnaround on this.
I think 2022 is a reasonable time frame to develop those
I thought it was
cars.
2020.
No.
22.
So, no, that's what the WRC wants. Or that's what WRC is planning on, is 2022.
Okay, it's like 4 years.
Right. And Volkswagen, basically 3 by now, because that season's got to be pushing towards the end of it. I mean, they got to be at least halfway.
Yep.
We're in July. So basically 3 years of development. Volkswagen is pushing for it to be earlier than that.
Right.
Which I think will just make cars not run so well. And then, so I think the key to making electric work is to have it work well right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Because if it's
just
people are against it already,
and if
it's problematic, you're done.
Yes.
So they need time to develop those cars. I think that 3.5 years is a perfectly reasonable amount of time to develop that.
Are they just going to add another class?
No, I think that. Well, I don't know. I didn't read into it
so
enough to know
not,
if they're like just saying, "Well, here we go.
Well,
we're all electric now."
No, there's no way they do.
I don't know if that's what
way.
they're doing, or if they're making another class with the ultimate goal of maybe in a few years ramping it up.
I think they have three or four classes now. I mean, you could just add an electric class.
It's possible.
That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
At least starting, if you're gonna phase that in. No, we're gonna take away all the gasoline and just electric. Well, we're gonna do this other.
Now we can't even finish the stage, so bye.
I think they're just pushing it because they have the most. They are at the forefront of the racing technology.
So they're
finding
they're
an
all
advantage.
but guaranteed a win that way.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what they're up to.
Which in years past they've been pretty dominant anyway. So
yeah, they're assuming they can dominate rally for a couple years.
Yep.
Rack up some championships.
yeah.
Wall Street Journal journalist Dan Neal deletes his Twitter account amidst blowback from Tesla Model 3 review.
Did you read his article?
I did read his article.
That's the most pretentious shit I've ever read in my entire life.
It is Dan Neal.
Dan Neal.
And it is the Wall Street Journal.
I never really read his stuff, and if that's how he writes about everything, there's a reason I've never read his stuff.
It's Wall Street Journal.
But my God.
But I think I wanted to put this in here more because I wanted to talk about journalism than I wanted to talk about the car,
Agreed. I'm right there with you.
So I think it's insane, first of all, because if you get past the pretentiousness of it, he talked about some good things, talked about some bad things. Overall, it was a pretty reasonable statement on the car.
I think you should. I guess when I read it, all I read was an ad with this little kind of haiku of, well, this isn't that super great, but he's just like, it's an $80,000 car, and he just wrote it like this elegant poem about why it's the best car, and all you commoners with your shit boxes would never understand.
Well,
and that's where I got totally hung up on it. Like, if he wants to write a good review about the Tesla Model 3, write the fucking review. Don't write about how elegant and wonderful it is compared to these pagan cars with these cretins. Like,
I think the problem with... So I think Dan was moved to a point where he wanted to write that article in the way that he wrote it. The problem is when you write that metaphorically about cars and at that level, you start to distance yourself from actually creating anything of like discernible journalistic merit. It really just becomes more of it's just kind of more of a filler piece. It's not about the car anymore. It's about how good of a writer or a wordsmith that Dan is.
He used a lot of big words I don't want to see in a
right.
review.
And so it's not really a car review anymore. It's more just a piece that Dan wrote, and so I think that's where people and people may be angry because of the point that you made is that he, let's be realistic. Dan Neal is kind of like the elite. You know what I mean? He's if you want to call him the 1%, that's fine. He'd be up there with like the Bloomberg Pursuits people, but he's kind of a more known. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. I mean, he's a legitimate.
He's a good writer.
He's a journalist. He's a great writer. I know that I've been upset with him previously about the whole Cannonball wanting to turn that into that movie. That doesn't matter anymore. But I do like Dan Neal. I do respect him. I just think that the article, he got too far away from the subject, and he was writing about how he felt and not about the car. And I think people wanted a car review. They didn't want to hear about how the car made Dan Neal feel. They wanted to know about the car.
Yeah,
and
because it's a car that's so scrutinized right now, and they want a real review.
Yes,
that's the thing.
There are real people out there that were told that they were going to get a $35,000 car and they were going to get $7,000 worth of tax rebates, and so it was going to be a $30,000, $28,000, whatever $1,000 car, and they're on a wait list, and they've been told this is the future, this is new, it's going to revolutionize your life, it's going to make life easier, you're not going to have to worry about gas, blah blah blah. They want hard facts, and when you talk about a car that costs $35,000, but it actually costs $85,000, or 78 or whatever it is,
an $80,000 car.
That's not a place that most people can be. I mean, they can't be in a situation where I have the option financially to go look at a car and specifically option it to the point where it's $80,000.
Right.
Now,
especially starting at 30.
Right. And then people are like,
crazy.
Well, what other cars available? Well, the M3 I would say would be very similar to that, because I think you can spend $80,000 on an M3, and probably a base 3 Series in the US is probably a little south of 40. So reasonable. I think that's kind of in the same boat. Dan made a mistake. Maybe he didn't make a mistake. Maybe he just did whatever he wanted to do. I've heard that Twitter has become a complete cesspool with people.
I'm not surprised with that at all. And I think he made it worse for himself by then spending the next however many hours on Twitter defending it and then clapping back at every person that commented.
Yeah.
And
he probably should have just let it go.
You're not gonna,
he needed to just let it go.
If he would have just posted it and let it be and ignored everybody, I mean, it's hard to do. I fully admit that.
Yeah.
But that's what he had to do. If he was going to write that article, he had to expect some sort of blowback because of the subject. If it would have been about another car, no one would be talking about it. But if he would have just let it go instead of just trying to stoop to their level and just have these wisecracking comments back at him, he probably would have been fine. But he kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper until he's like, I can't go any lower with these people. Fuck it, I'm out.
So in a world where companies seem to cut and run the second that one of their employees may or may not be in trouble, I'm a little surprised he's not fired.
I don't think he crossed any lines in that respect.
Well, I mean, he pissed off enough people that he felt like he needed to delete his Twitter account, which seems like, I mean, I know it's just a fucking Twitter account.
It is.
But still, like, it seems like a pretty...
I think from a Wall Street Journal
crazy
standpoint,
move.
he didn't do anything to justify getting fired.
He didn't. Yeah. There also weren't any comments on their website that he had responded to.
Right.
It was, and there really wasn't even that much discussion on their website. I think the real problem is Twitter.
Is a bunch of morons.
Twitter, yes. And I think people go to Twitter. Place. I think Twitter has become a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
The comment section of almost anything.
And it's not even... I mean, the medium promotes it, but basically people can go on there and they can find something to be outraged about and then become outraged about it, and it becomes a groupthink scenario, and then everybody thinks that they need to just jump on and be outraged about this thing that didn't affect their life literally 30 seconds ago.
Right.
And now I'm the most offended person in the world, and I am, trying to lead the field of people with pitchforks, and it's ridiculous.
I feel like there's a certain person that may have led the charge that is the Twitter downfall. So he may have attracted a group of bad people. It may have happened.
Happens.
So I can appreciate that. Maybe Dan Neal has had problems with Twitter in the past, and he just said that this is it. I'm done with this bullshit.
I totally understand that.
Yeah,
I haven't even had anything like that with him, and I'm still kind of sick of the social media stuff. So I get it.
Yeah, it's not that people shouldn't have a right to free speech, and it's not that people shouldn't voice their opinion, but don't think critically is what it comes down to.
Right.
And also, does Dan Neal writing about a car affect your life in any way, shape, or form? No, it does not.
No, it does not.
So shut the fuck up.
If you can't afford an $80,000 car, then what do you care what the review says?
I do understand the people that... if you're a shareholder, like if you're part of your retirement's invested in Tesla and you feel like they've misled you in some way, I could understand being upset about that. But
that's not Dan Neal's fault.
That's not Dan Neal's fault.
So Tesla has been notoriously closed to a lot of journalists. It's been very hard to get a hold of a car as a member of the press.
Motor Trend got 45 minutes.
Yeah, Motor Trend.
That's all they got. And they had to pack everybody in it.
It's not enough.
And somebody from Tesla went with them.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yep. So And if you get caught saying something bad about a Tesla, you can kiss your opportunity to get those again, goodbye.
You get one chance.
So like somehow I think it was Jalopnik managed to get someone who had one, and they let
them drive it.
Yeah, and I don't know.
They got blacklisted. Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll. Yeah. I'd be shocked if they ever get another car from. They'll never get a car from Tesla.
No.
That being said, they're the common man's news source enough that they'll probably be able to get them. But they'll be personally owned vehicles, not fleet vehicles.
Right.
Which, frankly, maybe we need more of in automotive journalism.
Yeah, someone that bought it that's willing to let you
who's
do an honest review.
Here, this is the car. I do or don't like it. It's whatever. But you don't have to worry about blowback from well, if I say how I really feel about this car, I may not get him again. And that impacts my living. It makes things difficult.
Oh yeah.
I don't like the center touchscreen thing.
The big laptop thing in the middle.
Yeah.
Giant iPad.
I've seen two in person.
They're huge.
It is massive. Design aesthetically wise, it's 12, very questionable.
12 something.
Yeah, it's like bigger than a. It's like bigger than a
like
Pro.
17.
Yeah, I think he's right. It's like 17 or 19.
Oh, seriously?
I think it's 17 inches long by
Holy shit.
9 inches wide or something.
It's huge.
That's crazy.
I just something about it I don't.
Here, I'll see. Maybe
like.
Not 17. Well,
it's big though, man. It's really big. But that's all you get. That's
right.
That's an S.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all the same though.
Well, the 3 doesn't have gauges though.
There's no gauge forward of you.
No.
Oof.
That's what I don't like.
Please hold. I'll find.
Is there a heads up?
Oh.
Do you know?
Probably.
I've never even seen the 3. I was mistaken. I was looking at the S the whole time.
It
Yeah,
almost has to be. Well, I guess
no. He's right. There's nothing.
Yep. Whole bunch of nothing.
That's awful.
That's minimalist, man. That's
now I can understand why he was. The article where he's talking about the elegance of the wood grain and the suede matching with the contours of the layers of the dash, and then this morph of a computer screen just obstructing my view.
I could see it obstructing your view.
But
it does look obnoxious.
It does. But what kind of car doesn't have gauges?
Also, I hope we come to a point in interior design where we can move away from the fact that everything needs to look like an iPad.
That'd be nice, yeah.
It doesn't need
How
to
about
look
just
like
design
somebody
in general?
Screwed an iPad to the dash.
Yeah, it's bad.
No.
Make
it's
it
not okay.
fit with the dash.
Yeah,
at
mold
least
it into the dash.
Contoured around it.
Also, it doesn't. It's not a computer. It doesn't have to be a fucking square either.
The S is better.
The S is much better
because it's more a part of the center stack.
Yeah.
Yep.
It does look like someone just took like a RAM mount and screwed it to the dash and then stuck an iPad in it.
Well, then you gotta look for all of your information. You gotta look to your right,
even your speed.
So
which I think the reason they're doing that is because they just assume you're not going to be actually involved in the driving process.
It's training you. It's preparing you, Robbie.
You don't need to know. You don't need your gauges directly in front of you to know how fast you're going because the computer's doing it for you.
The only thing that this reminds me of is like early 2000s Saturns.
Or Mini Coopers. That's where they are.
Yeah, the Mini Cooper.
Oh, Mini Cooper. But the Saturn was like on top of
the left.
It was off. Yeah, it was off.
Or
it
off
was
to the right.
Off to the right. It was. You had to look to the right to see your speed.
Yeah.
The gauge was not right in front of you. It was in the middle of the dash.
Nah. Nope.
So.
Interesting times we live in.
Yeah. Glad we don't use our Twitter very much.
Or at all.
And
I've never had a Twitter.
I monitor our Twitter enough to make sure that nobody says anything to us that I feel like we need to respond to. Beyond that, it's not.
It's a dangerous.
Not in any way, shape, or form used. Occasionally, I will use it to interact with a couple of other podcasts that I know prefer Twitter. Beyond that, I don't use it at all.
Nope. Never Twitter. I'll use Instagram.
I don't have a personal Twitter.
Nope.
So.
I'm afraid of the world, but this is the tip of the iceberg. Dan Neal getting made fun of for his Tesla Model 3 review.
Try bringing the child into it.
Yeah, I think it's, as Joe Rogan says, it's strange times, but I think it's also scary times.
We need an event.
That was the Joe Rogan thing, wasn't it?
Yes,
that was from somebody on his show said we need an event.
250% behind that theory.
Need an event that takes out like 10% of people.
Even if that kills
just the negative.
Even if I'm one of the event,
But the point was
greater good.
It just makes people go, "Oh,
wait
a minute."
Priorities here.
Priorities, right? Participation trophies, all that stuff. Not really important.
No.
True. All right. Is that depressing enough of news for everybody? Can we be done?
Yeah, we didn't talk about things that kill you in Iowa this week, so
we did. These got
rattlesnakes.
That's coming to get them. Yeah, no, we did.
I almost forgot. I have to issue a formal apology that you guys apparently have forgotten as well.
Probably, yeah.
I forgot the Rockstar water.
Oh,
well, for the record,
so people have been sitting here
waiting
all the way to the end of the show just to find out that I'm probably going to forget it next week too.
Well, you also called it Monster Water on our Facebook.
Did I?
Yeah.
Shit happens.
Yeah, no, it's
an energy drink water.
My favorite part was like something about Monster Water, and then you posted a comment directly below with the picture of it, and it was Rockstar Water. I was gonna call you out on it. I was like, fuck it.
Chris asked me if I had a can he could have.
Yeah, that conversation.
I don't remember saying anything. I just said
maybe he called it Monster Water.
It could be. I don't know. But I was like, you're welcome to the can when we're done with it, and I posted a picture of the can.
Okay, now, yep.
So
one of you called it a monster.
It's possible. It's Rockstar. I may have called it Monster on the show. It's Rockstar, and I apologize.
Do you really apologize?
No.
Though? Don't apologize.
I'm going to apologize to Grid Life because,
it's a sponsor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's where it came from.
But you're not apologizing to anybody else.
No.
Shows weakness.
I'm unapologetic.
Yeah, don't.
Fair enough.
That's a Joe Gibbs rule. Joe Gibbs? Is that the right name?
Probably
I don't know. NCIS.
Not a clue.
I can't watch network TV. It makes me want to drive a car into a telephone pole.
My dad watches
do
it, or used to at least watch it a lot. So
yeah, it won't kill you anymore.
No, it's too safe.
Just get a big bill.
Yeah, no, I'll have to go fix it.
And then he'll have to go fix it. Thanks, asshole. For the next month. All right, we'll catch you guys next week.